Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That is Lauren.
It is.
And how are you today, Lauren?
I'm well. How are you?
Tremendous today.
Nice.
Yeah, tremendous. Instagram, find us there. If you search Wilder Show Pod, you'll find it, and then you can like it, and we appreciate that. If you want to send us email, just email to podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, on the TikTok now and again. Wherever you are getting this podcast, would you right now just like it? You can unlike it later.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I'm hoping they'll tap out and go away having liked it.
Oh, you mean, they decide they don't like it once they're into it.
Right.
Then you can always undo it.
You can undo your gratitude, or just leave it, which we would appreciate. So wherever you get your podcasts, like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share, and we really, really appreciate that. Hey, today is a real bueno coincidencia.
Oh, nice, especially for today.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
Today is. We say to all, Feliz, Cinco de Mayo. Mm-hmm. It also is Taco Tuesday. So those two things go together, which is great.
Sure.
If I ran a Mexican restaurant today, I would have very special things on any Cinco de Mayo. But when you combine it with, Taco Tuesday, I'm going to have tacos today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make tacos today.
Oh, you're going to make them today?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to make tacos today, probably soft tacos, a little easier to wrangle.
Yeah.
And also not so bad if when the shells go a bit stale. Got to get those shells early on when they're crisp. But with the tortillas, soft ones, you prefer corn or you prefer flour?
Flour.
Yeah.
They go bad too, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know they do. Sure. Yeah. I like corn.
Yeah.
Although you got to get the kind that don't fall apart. Corn tortillas can fall apart. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm going to make tacos today.
How do you know which corn tortillas will disintegrate and which ones won't?
Yeah, they make them now. I like the ones that are street tacos because I put those in, I heat them up by putting them in the toaster.
Okay.
Because they're small enough. You could fold them in half and put them in the toaster. Must be on low. And it toasts them just right. They're just warm enough. And then shove them up in the air and catch them as they come out. And that's good, but they make them now. You have to look. I'd have to show. I'll take a picture of the packaging because I've tried a lot of them. A lot of them are really corn, and they do fall apart. If you bend them in half or get them they don't last.
Yeah,
and that's not going to work. So anyway, so happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Taco Tuesday.
And Taco Tuesday. What a nice little coincidencia.
I think that's how you really say that, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Buena
coincidencia.
It is.
Okay.
Buena coincidencia.
I stand corrected.
See, Twin Spires. We talked about we'll get to the war in a second, other things, and a couple of stories to watch. I'm putting out a BOLO. Be on the lookout. Mm-hmm. So we go on record that we talked about it. So when it becomes a story or a bigger story down the road, you go, yeah, they did say something about that. Twin Spires. Man, you didn't watch, did you?
I didn't.
Oh, golly. The Kentucky Derby was so fun to watch. It always is. 2 minutes and 2 seconds is all it is.
Yeah.
It was like 7 hours of hats and mint juleps, people walking around, and then it's over so quickly.
I've been there before. I know we've talked about this, but it is quite the day. It is a long day.
Yeah, it is.
For, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're done.
That's it. Well, history was made, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So most people call it the Kentucky Derby, but I call it beating 3-year-olds to make them run faster.
No, that's not going to get anybody to watch.
You don't think that's a good way to?
I don't. I thought you were going to say you like to call it the Run for the Roses. I thought it was going to be something, romantic and but no.
Yeah. I agree. Beating 3-year-olds to make them run faster does not have the ring of the Kentucky Derby.
Or the Run for the Roses.
Golden Tempo. He is a bay. He's a homebred horse, and he won the 152nd Kentucky Derby over the weekend. The odds were 23-1.
They were
23-1. And if you haven't seen it, you must see it. It is only 2 minutes. It is amazing
Came from last place.
Last place
early
to first place.
Yes.
I mean, he was in last place around the turn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last turn.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you in a second. Anyway, it made history because it's the first time ever that a winning horse in the Kentucky Derby was trained by a woman.
That's right. Cherie DeVoe was her first attempt, too. She hasn't trained a bunch of horses who didn't win. First female trainer in history to win. She said she started her career there 23 years ago. She's been doing this for a long time. She said she has been answering the question, do you think you'll be the first to win? Do you think you'll be the first female trainer to win? And she said she's really just happy to not have to answer that question anymore, that's now out of the way. But she's been an assistant for a long time before she went out on her own. And she said, really, never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I would be here today.
It's another example, guys, how you can be a winner. You'll just listen to the lady in charge in your life.
What do you mean?
Just do what she said. The horse won.
The horse?
The horse listened to the woman. You could be a winner, too.
Jockey's pretty happy too. I guess he's one of a couple of brothers who are, and he said, Jose Ortiz, and he said that he hoped that someday his brother would be able to experience this same great feeling. He said, but not today.
Speaking of the jockeys, do you know the rules about that whole thing?
I don't.
They're all quite small, as you notice. Have you ever seen the weigh-in?
No.
When they weigh in with their tack, with their saddle and their blanket and the gird, all that. Everything that will be on the horse is being held by the jockey, and the jockey and the stuff are weighed.
What's the limit? What's
126 pounds.
No way.
Is the cap. It's somewhere between 114 and 126. So no jockey can't, with the gear, which is about 10 to 12 pounds, can weigh more than, the combined, can weigh more than 126 pounds. How crazy is that?
It's pretty crazy.
And if you are underweight, they put lead weights in your gear.
To get you up to that?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Because every horse needs to be carrying exactly the same weight, which makes sense, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Did you see the great white? It was like 17 hands tall. It was it would have been the biggest horse to race in the Kentucky Derby. Beautiful horse, kind of grayish, bolted with the rider on the horse. The horse fell over. Lucky didn't fall over on the little jockey.
Wow.
The jockey scurried away. Great White, the horse, I guess, was disqualified. They did not race. You imagine the people that put money down on that horse?
No.
I think the horse was 50 to 1. Probably wasn't going to win, but still, I mean, who would have thought that 23 to 1 would win? I mean, there were ones that were 5 to 1, 7 to 1, 9 to 1, 15 to 1, several at 15 to 1. Anyway, it was fun. It's always fun. They say it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, and it was exciting. We'll get to heavier stuff in a second. Melania. Remember that thing a few weeks ago when Melania went on social media and she made her big statement? Remember that? About
the Epstein?
Yeah, the whole
about
Epstein.
How well she knew or didn't know Jeffrey Epstein. I do.
You know, I didn't talk about this at the time, but I really thought it was funny a couple of weeks ago. She didn't do that on the president's social media platform. She did it on X.
Oh, that's right. That is weird.
That the first lady is going to put out something that everybody is going to see, and she doesn't do it on the president's platform. I wonder if she even has a Truth Social account. If she does, that's even weirder that she would have one and not post it there. Anyway,
easily knowable.
Okay, latest on the war. Let's dive into some of the details. We're about 9 weeks into our 4 to 6 week war. The president is saying that the U.S. will assist safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Interestingly, the wording is the U.S. will help guide, not escort. So not going to escort, that means it could be done by air. It could be done by GPS. If we knew where all the not landmines, they're sea mines, where the ocean mines are, we could assist them in that way. Or, as I say, drones or helicopters or fixed wing aircraft. Speaking of mines, do you know the different kinds of mines in the sea?
No.
If you think about the old movies where there was, the Germans are laying mines in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like a basketball with sort of spikes coming out of it in all directions.
Okay.
Let's say like maybe 10 different spikes.
Mm-hmm.
So some are down, some are over, some are on this side, that side, at an angle, straight out.
Yeah.
And then they just float. So they're not, there's no place, you drop them all in, and then when they bump into a ship, or when a ship bumps into them,
Mm-hmm.
it pushes in those little spikes.
Okay.
And it triggers the bomb. Think of it like a trigger on a gun, but there are 9 or 10 or 15 different triggers. They're all on the outside of this ball,
Mm-hmm.
and inside the ball are the explosives. Think of it like rubber ducks in a pond.
Yeah.
You just drop them in, and then if your little play boat bumps into one, kaboom. It's like that, but in real life. That's one kind of mine, but
Okay.
there are two other kinds of mines. One is a tethered mine.
Mm-hmm.
So you would take the same kind of thing, and it might not float on top the water. It might be under, so ships can't see what they're about to get into,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the keel or the bottom of the ship is obviously deep in the water. And so you want this stuff hidden under. So maybe you would just place them. Think of it like balloons, helium balloons that are tied to something,
Mm-hmm.
right? A little weight, and it's like that, but it's under the water.
Yeah.
And if you bump in, same thing. And then you have other ones that are like that. They're tethered, but now with technology, they can be turned on and turned off.
Well,
So
this might even be a dumb question. This is not something I've spent any time
Yeah.
learning about
Yeah.
stuff like this. How do you know that it's going to hit the boat you want it to hit?
Well, that is sort of the thing with the old timey kind, and the kind that, like when we say they're going to drop these things into the Persian Gulf or right around the Strait of Hormuz, we're just going to drop these in. Then everybody's vulnerable,
Yeah.
including their own ones are vulnerable.
Sure.
But that is the risk that comes with those. Well, it's like landmines. Landmines, you just bury them, and the person walking across it might walk across it during the conflict, might walk across it during the ceasefire, might walk across it 2 years from now,
Yeah.
plowing a field, or some kids going to school.
Yeah, you're right. I know.
So the new technology allows them to turn them on and turn them off. I don't know whether that's the kind that was mainly being used here, but anyway, the U.S. is saying, hey, we're going to help you. We're going to guide you. U.S. will now guide those ships, transports passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says, hey, man, I got my own deadline. It's a month, 30 days for the U.S. to agree to the reopening of the strait, that is to say, to remove the U.S. blockade. We'll remove our blockade if you'll remove your blockade. Well, that's not a fair trade, right? Because they would still be able to take a toll. And that is what I think we're going to end up being left with, as we have talked about. I know you've probably seen the stories about the War Powers Act. Congress is always, they did it with Barack Obama, they did it with George W. Bush, they did it with probably also Joe Biden. The War Powers Act says that a president can engage in a war or an excursion or warlike activities without congressional approval, but only for 60 days.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of 60 days, he has to come back and get approval. You can get another 30-day reprieve and then do it again in 30 days. But bottom line is, after 60 days from the beginning of it, you have to get congressional approval. Well, that 60-day deadline is now passed. It passed over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And the president is not inclined in any way to go to Congress and say, hey, really want you guys' permission to be able to do this thing. And it brings up a really interesting legal thing. The administration is saying that, yeah, there is a 60-day thing, but the ceasefire stops that clock from ticking. And everybody else says, Congress says, no, it's 60 days from the time that it began.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go another beyond the 61st day, you're going to have to get congressional approval.
That kind of makes more sense.
It does. That is actually the way I think it is. But the argument is a pretty interesting one the administration is making. And actually, there are legal experts on both sides that say, we don't know. We don't know. It's never really been tried like that, never been tested like that. Now, if that's the case, where is it decided then? It's decided in the courts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's delay and delay and delay. Meanwhile, the president will do what he wants to do there, or the U.S. and Israel will do what they want to do there. So the question is, does the ceasefire pause the ticking clock? So we'll have to wait and see. Oh, let me say one more thing. The suspect, the guy who shot the shotgun at the correspondence dinner or outside the correspondence dinner, very interesting video about, first of all, it's been determined that in fact he did fire his weapon. There was some conversation about whether it was friendly fire that hit a Secret Service agent or a police officer, that maybe one of the good guys was firing at the bad guy and it struck a good guy.
Yeah.
Not the case. He had a Mossberg, which is a nice shotgun. He had a Mossberg shotgun. They did remove pellets from the bulletproof vest of the agent or the officer that was struck, and they matched what was in the guy's weapon. And of course, it was the only shotgun there on the floor. So, but in any case, it is the case that he did fire. But have you seen the thing about the dog?
No.
Man, it's unbelievable. You've seen the video where he rushes out of this little hallway or whatever.
Yes.
They said it was an office or a room, that he goes in it, and then as soon as moments later he rushes, sort of a bum rush to try and get through, and fires the Mossberg at one person, and they're all firing at him. If you watch that video again, and now they've talked about it, but there was a dog that was trained on him. There was a canine handler that when that guy came around that corner and they'd walked into what appeared to be a room, that really was only where the bank of elevators is, but he walks in out of the hallway, past some doors, and the canine handler, the dog is pulling him toward this guy. And the handler or the officer looks up and they exchange some words. We don't hear what they said.
With the guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the dog goes maybe back toward him a little bit, not aggressively, just, like a pointer would.
Uh-huh.
And then the handler kind of tugs the dog, pulls him away. They begin to walk away. And at that instant, the guy runs out of that doorway and bum rushes down.
So if the agent with the canine had followed the canine's lead, it could have been
maybe could have stopped it
before
maybe.
It started.
And I read some stuff about that. They said that the dog was not a firearms dog, but a bomb sniffing dog. One of the dogs that the guy was a guest at the hotel.
Yeah.
So it's entirely, and that was the bank of elevators. So it's entirely possible that he came around. Let's assume him to be innocent for a second, which he's not, but he wanted to sell that he's innocent. He walked around the corner and said, "Oh, that's where they're doing that thing. I'll just go back up the elevator." And so he turns into that doorway, and that's where the bank of elevators is. So it's possible that the officer could say, "Hey, wait a minute, what about you?" And he just holds up his card and goes, "I'm a guest. I forgot they were doing that. I'm just going into my room." The guy goes, "Okay, sure," and walks away. Meanwhile, he drops the trench coat or whatever he's wearing that hides that he has the weaponry, and runs out of there. Anyway, you'll want to look at that because it is something to see that dog.
I am not a conspiracy theorist, but this still seems just so strange to me. I mean, if for no other reason, I can't believe what seems like such a lack of security.
I know.
Even not at a time of war, but especially at a time of war.
That's what we talked about last time. It's like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
We are at war. And on top of that, the president had already at least 2 times had his life threatened. That one in Florida at the golf course. And then, of course, the one in Butler, PA.
Right. And isn't it true that afterwards he said, "No, we can still do the event"? Oh,
yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately he said that. This is rare. I'm speaking to what you're talking about. That could be a conspiracy. I think I think if there were one, it's a stand down order. That's what I think. If there were one, I'm not sure there is one. We've never had a president that people wanted to do away with, to unalive, as much as we have in this one. And of course, as we said before, I mean, within seconds, he says, we can still do the event.
How could you so quickly know that was the only guy?
Yeah, or there weren't bombs planted or what. That's one thing. And then even now, a week later, when he's asked about it, he says, "They really want my ballroom now." It's like, that's what we're trading, threatening the life of the for a ballroom. I mean, it doesn't make any sense Anyway, just the dog. Look up the video on the dog.
Okay.
The dog knew what was going on. A couple of little be on the lookouts BOLOs, right? To go on BOLOs.
Mm-hmm.
Be on the lookout. A couple of stories. Just remember that we talked about it. That's all. One is, and I've bored you with this off the air, the story about the missing or murdered scientists.
Yeah.
Jet propulsion laboratory scientists. The ones that have been killed or missing, very suspicious, many people think. Some people say so much can easily be dismissed by saying, oh, yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory. Maybe. But pretty interesting. And I think it is a story. The number is now 13. So 13 within a year, they all worked at the same place doing the same thing.
And all just missing.
No, some are missing. And like one, the woman, I think one of the most prominent ones is a lady, female, who was out. She was out hiking in New Mexico and literally just disappeared. I mean, without a trace.
Mm-hmm.
She was there 1 minute and she was gone the next. And what a lot of people think is, have these people come upon something? Are they discovering something? But these people that all were scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the ones that have been missing or have died. When I say that one woman just disappeared, but she went out on a hike and never returned. Nothing, just gone.
Monica Reza.
Yeah, look, if you're interested, look that up and look up those folks, just missing or dead scientists, JPL. And I think you'll find it interesting. Some of this stuff is going to come to light at some point. And I think what a lot of people are wondering is if these people have made a discovery. So these scientists all of them specialize in aerospace, nuclear research, and defense. Think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If there had been a discovery made, would some other country like to get those people that know those things?
Sure.
What if there was some discovery made that would change the way we power vehicles, the way we get from point A to point B? What if there was some discovery that was made, either nuclear or whatever? Obviously, I'm out of my depth here,
mm-hmm.
assuming there is any depth. But wouldn't that be something? So we try and get them, we try and kidnap them, we take them for our own purposes in another country, and the ones that we can't get, we pew pew.
Man.
Anyway, it's a story. It is a story, and it's gonna be a story.
The circumstances of this seem there. I mean, obviously, it's never anytime somebody disappears.
Mm-hmm.
There's mystery
mm-hmm.
around it. She was hiking
mm-hmm.
with a hiking partner, somebody from a yoga class, somebody that she knew well enough to be out, and she was behind him, and they started running at one point, and
he looks back and she's gone.
He called her name and she didn't answer.
That's what I'm saying.
And it really was almost like you described it the first time.
Yeah.
It was like disappearing into thin air. Really 1 minute she's there and the next she's not.
Gone. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff. And maybe this next BOLO story, if you thought I was crazy already, just wait. I'll put this also in the back of your mind, and it will be obvious when to remember it. If there ever is a day, there will be a day in the future, I think, in the not too distant future, that we will be hearing a lot about aliens. Okay? Hold on. Don't dismiss so quickly. I'm not saying there are aliens. I'm saying that is a very easy thing to distract. Okay? Maybe between Iran and Cuba, we can get to aliens. So something in there is going to get our attention. Look, more and more stories are going to come out about people's experiences. There is a friendliness today to these stories that we have not had before.
Why?
I don't know why. Maybe it's a Spielberg movie that's coming out. But you're going to hear story after story, and I have one in a second that I think you'll find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But the time is getting closer when people will, right or wrong, people will take this more seriously. And I really believe, not to get too judgy, I think it's an example of what happens in a godless world.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I know how that sounds. But when society, what are we told? Everyone has a God-shaped void.
Yeah.
And if you're not filling it with God, you're going to fill it with something
mm-hmm.
else, with money or whatever. When society doesn't believe in God, and our nature is to have that void, society looks for something to fill it, something to make it all make sense. And when what we know makes it make sense, is rejected by an increasingly post-Christian or maybe even post-deist, post-God world. They will believe anything or something to help make it make sense. Goldie Hawn, story out right now.
Yeah.
About her experience in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
She says she was about 18 to 20 years old, felt completely paralyzed in the back of a car while witnessing 2 or 3, she describes as small silver creatures with triangular-shaped heads.
Mm.
She described them as having a slash for a mouth, a tiny nose, and no ears.
Okay.
She said the encounter, she described it as a high-pitched sound. She felt a physical touch on her face, which she described as, to my point from earlier, the most benevolent she had ever felt, later calling it the finger of God.
Is this the first time she's talking about this?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, I think so. There is an atmosphere where people are going to be talking more and more about this.
Uh-huh.
About 3 months before the encounter, she says she had looked up in the sky in Anaheim and she had stated, "I know you're out there. I know we're not alone, and I would like to meet you one day." Now, for some people, you might say that to God.
Uh-huh.
I find it hard to believe that the aliens said, "Is that Goldie? What
Send somebody down. Send somebody down. Send a couple down to.
In about 3 months, let's send some of us down."
That's a little is being generous. A little wacky.
She says later in life, she discussed the experience with an astrophysicist who works with the government and realized the encounter matched descriptions of alien abductions. She also mentioned a dream she had about lights over a mountain, which appeared to come true when she visited a heart-shaped crop circle in Avery, UK, that matched her dream. That was an article in Vanity Fair. Anyway,
wow.
That is, I know it sounds crazy. That sounds a little crazier to me than the jet propulsion thing. I think the jet propulsion thing is a real deal. The atmosphere that allows people to feel comfortable with saying, me too. It's a brand new me too. I've had an encounter with, they touched my face too, with an alien. Oh, it is time for Scatter Shoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show Scatter Shoot. All right.
You've heard the excuse, the dog ate my homework.
Yes.
Maybe you didn't actually use it, but for years and years and years, we've heard that. Well, this is kind of similar to that. Researchers discovered a mummy at a funerary complex south of Cairo during an excavation in late 2025. And upon examination of this mummy, the team found a sheet of papyrus inside the mummy's abdomen that contained text from the Iliad.
Okay, you're saying
you know
that
what the Iliad is, right? Yeah.
So this person, I assume it's a man.
Yeah. Well, I guess so.
He ate part of the.
Yes.
And then he died. And then he was mummified.
Yes.
And then they're checking his innards out, and they say, "Hey, the missing chapter."
Yes. Well, it wasn't a missing chapter.
No,
it actually was in the Iliad.
Yeah, crazy.
I see what you're saying. That would have been even a better story, though, if he had a little bit of the Iliad in his abdomen that was always meant to be a part of the epic poem and was not. The passage is from Book 2, in case you're curious. Okay. That's the part where Homer cataloged the Greek ships that came to do battle with Troy after Helen was taken there by Paris, the son of the king of Troy.
Yeah, it's all coming back to me now.
Well, here, this is the really cool thing, though. The mummy's tomb dates to about 1,600 years ago. None of the scrolls that were, this is not that unusual of a thing. They do find scrolls and papyrus inside the abdomens of other mummies, but this is the first time that they had ever found a bit of the Iliad. 1,600 years ago, the Iliad would have already been considered a literary classic.
There's an important part of what you just said that was a dependent clause.
What's that? What?
That it is not unusual to find
not unusual
people to have eaten text.
No, these particular researchers had found scrolls in some of the other mummies that were interred inside 3 limestone chambers at the same location.
Let me ask you this. Do they know that the person ate it, or did somebody put it in their abdomen?
That's a possibility, too.
Like we're going to bury him with book number 2.
Like a time capsule or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So he was really a fan of the Iliad or whatever, right?
I guess.
Or
so.
he was a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes. And
I don't think anybody's ever going to find. I know people are really devoted to Calvin and Hobbes.
So they buried. But it could be that they buried it in his innards. That'd be really interesting to know if they knew whether he ate it or whether they, sort of put it in him to, since it was his favorite, comic strip or whatever.
It's not really unheard of for people to be buried with books that they loved, but this is unusual.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Inside him.
A little bit extreme.
Crazy.
It's just like one piece of.
I thought you said a scroll.
They do find scrolls, but this was not a scroll.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. This was just a sheet of papyrus inside the mummy's abdomen.
All right.
If you were mummified,
you mean
what
when?
would be? Well, I guess so. I guess I'm thinking in terms of, then being excavated,
That's
and
right.
what would they find inside? What great piece of literature would be found inside your abdomen? If I didn't limit you. If you don't mind me, if I didn't limit you to a great piece of literature and I asked what would be found inside your abdomen, I think it would be like the DVD of season 1 of Seinfeld.
Seinfeld? No, not the first 3 seasons.
Oh, I was wrong about that?
For first 3 seasons, a little rough. Mm-hmm. They got really good about season 3, I think. Mm-hmm. Or 24, or The Godfather.
That was a work of literature.
It was
well before it was a movie.
Mario Puzo.
So you could have a page from The Godfather.
That's good.
Feel good about that?
I do. I feel good about that. That's. I think it will be the scene where Don Corleone is pulling Sonny aside after the meeting, where he says, "What are you doing? Never tell anyone outside the family what you're thinking."
I like it.
Probably that part.
Very good. Let's move on. I don't spend a lot of time in fast food restaurants these days. I do drive through every once in a while, but I don't necessarily spend a lot of time inside. But I would, and I don't want to offend anybody at all. This could be this, and of course we've got to put Chick-fil-A aside because nothing like this ever happens at Chick-fil-A. I don't necessarily think of fast food workers as being always really plugged in to what's going on in the restaurant.
Okay, like
you know what I mean?
I think
they work their shift, they do their job, but they might not be, I don't know, like really bought into the mission of the restaurant.
As people talk about, I took a job flipping burgers.
Yeah.
They're not saying that became my calling and I took it very seriously. That's usually talked about, right or wrong. It's talked about as it was something that I did to make a little money, and it was kind of a non-thinking, non-caring sort of job.
I think maybe I could be wrong about believing, though, that is the feeling of most people who work in the fast food industry. A Taco Bell employee in Florida last week, 3 women came into the restaurant. Okay. They placed their order at the counter, and they all asked him for water. They wanted water. They ordered their food and they asked for cups for water.
So food, but they're not going to, they just want a free water.
Yeah, they just wanted water. Yeah. So they walked over to the soda fountain and they started, he noticed that they were filling their cups with soda and not water.
Yeah.
And he shouted at them right away, told them not to do that. That was against the rules. If they wanted soda, they had to come back and buy the cups for the soda.
Stealing.
So they did not listen to him. They continued doing what they were doing. Didn't he pay heed to him at all? Police said, according to a video taken by witnesses that were in the restaurant at the time, after he yelled at them and after they continued to fill up their their water cups
Okay.
with soda, you can hear the sound of a gun being racked on the video right before a shot was fired in the area. Shots were fired near the soda fountain.
Oh my!
He took this
was the
very
employee?
seriously.
The
It was
employee
the
was-
employee.
Oh my.
Yes. So of course everybody in the restaurant, takes cover.
Sure.
The women start running. The guy leaves the restaurant firing at these three women
Good grief.
who did not follow his admonition to only get water when you haven't paid for soda.
Well,
Of course, fortunately nobody was hurt. Somebody actually was grazed by
way.
a shot, not hurt seriously. Victims drove themselves to the hospital, treated for mostly minor injuries, and the 20-year-old Taco Bell worker was arrested and charged with 3 counts of aggravated assault with a firearm.
well, I want to find, as you know, I'm very positive. I want to find the silver lining here.
What's that?
He apparently really does care.
I guess he does.
Took seriously his job.
Man.
I mean, that was, 48 cents that they were trying to steal. And, when you start by saying it's an event like this that happened in Florida.
I know.
I mean, seriously, really? Florida. Some of the craziest things happen in Florida.
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach.
Mhm.
Yeah, less people misunderstand. You might hear Palm Beach or West Palm Beach. That's where Mar-a-Lago is. No, not true. There is Palm Beach, and then there is West Palm Beach. Suffice it to say, they are very different neighborhoods, the two.
Yikes.
So
I'm not defending his actions by any means, but if you get a cup for water, just take the water.
yeah, that was wrong of the ladies to do. Yeah, I would never do that. I would never do that.
Which?
I would
Fill
never.
your cup with soda? Or
Yeah, no, I would never. Yeah, I would have a firearm. I would defend my business. No, I would never do either. But I would never take a free cup and then fill it up with soda. That's
No.
just. I don't care how little you're buying. You're stealing it. It's still.
Yeah.
It's not
wrong.
even about money. It's just wrong.
Mhm.
What kind of person are you?
All right, I feel really out of the loop on something.
Okay.
And this is one of those things I don't remember. There's a possibility that I did know this at some point, but I don't think so. I think this was brand new news to me just a few days ago.
But did it happen a few days ago?
No, it happened a long time ago, like a quarter of a century ago. And you and I talked about it. I think we talked about it at the time that it happened.
Okay.
This was before, this was maybe like in the early days of things like this going viral.
Okay.
This was a blooper on a morning news show in Albuquerque. It was male, female co-hosting the morning show on this news show, and the female half of the couple was coming out of one segment and going into a break, and she was pre-selling the next segment.
Okay.
And she said, right after the break, we're going to interview Eric Weihenmayer, who climbed the highest mountain in the world, Mount Everest, but he's gay. And she caught herself and she said, wait, excuse me, he's blind. Do you remember that, right?
I do. Now that you say that, I wouldn't have been able to recall that. But yes, now that you mention it, absolutely, I remember that.
This
He's
has
gay.
lived
That's funny.
on forever. Like I said, 25 years ago, this happened. I just heard, outside of this context of you and I talking about it today, I just heard somebody mention this a few weeks ago as one of their favorite things to go back to when they're looking at bloopers and things that make them
funny.
laugh. And it's now, what I didn't know was that was Cynthia Izaguirre.
Oh, you're kidding
That was
me. very
our
own.
WFAA's Cynthia Izaguirre.
He's gay. That's so funny.
Before she came to WFAA, she was a morning anchor on this on a news show in Albuquerque. Yes, it happened in 2001.
That's funny.
It has followed her around. She was just interviewed. I think she just hit another milestone at WFAA. I think she's been there for like 20 years now. And she was asked about that specifically. And she said, yeah, it was a morning show, obviously. She was bleary-eyed. She had just done a segment on some LGBTQ story. And that it was just on her mind. And she got out of it, as quickly and as gracefully as she could. But she said to this day, people still ask her about that. Or they'll tell her that it still gives them a giggle when they need something to have a giggle about. She did talk about she was able to meet Eric Weinenmeyer for the first
climber.
time at WFAA after she had already moved here to Texas. And she said she apologized for the blooper because she was sure it had kind of stuck with him too. And he said he owed her a thank you. He said that blooper has opened doors for him around the world. It was not a bad thing for him at all. But for the life of me, when I saw that just a few days ago, I remembered the clip very well. I did not remember that it was Cynthia Izaguirre who had made that blooper.
And those things, like you said, will follow them forever.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what else you do.
Yeah.
You're an Emmy Award winner or whatever the different things are. You can win as a reporter, as an anchor, but it will follow them around. I think about Michelle Kaczynski. Michelle Kaczynski, one of my favorite things ever.
Oh, tell me.
She was an NBC reporter. It happened in Wayne, New Jersey in 2005. It was a morning show. I think Matt Lauer was still there in 2005. Maybe not. But she was a correspondent for NBC, the Today Show. She was in Wayne, New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
And it was when all the flooding was going on. And she is giving a report from the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And she is in a rowboat.
Yeah.
She's, looking over to her right at the camera and seems to be very gingerly putting that paddle in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But she's talking about the flooding.
Yeah.
Behind her, two young men are walking on the street in the ankle-deep water.
Barely even wading.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And if you look that up, Michelle Kaczynski, that has followed her. I don't know what she went from there. I think she went to CNN for a while, and she's probably a star somewhere, doing great. But that will be in her. They all come up. The news people all come up with morgue files.
Yeah.
When her day is done, either as a career or as a human, it will be impossible not to.
Do you think so?
Yes, it will be
even
impossible.
Something that's kind of.
I think it would be. I think it would be just as a giggle.
Yeah.
Like with Izaguirre. You don't want to think that you're going to play that at my funeral. Really, that I said a blind guy was gay. But if you couch it just right, you could bring a little giggle to the funeral or a little giggle to the end of the person's time on the air. Anyway,
do you remember Valerie Williams?
Valerie Williams.
Valerie Williams she was also a WFAA reporter. I didn't remember when this happened, but apparently it was November 1992. She was doing a live report outside in freezing temperatures.
I do remember this.
And she was just, help me remember. I think what made it funnier, unfortunately, is that she's out there with her lips turning blue, basically. And back in the studio
they lost it.
Tracy Rowlett and Chip Moody. They could not contain their giggles at her, at where she had Valerie Williams had been out in the wind howling against her for a long time while she did this live report. The worst it had ever been, snow and ice. It was the Thanksgiving weekend, and it was they come back from her and they're just giggling. When do you think kids should be potty trained?
Got
any opinions on this?
By third grade.
Well, hopefully.
No,
Way
I would
before
say
that.
I would say probably. It seems like, and I have a very foggy memory, mainly because the last two were at the same time. Twin memory is like no memory. But I would say by the time they're two something, 2 years, and I mean maybe that's even wildly off. Maybe it's before then. I really don't know.
I would say
probably by the time they're. Certainly, I would guess by the time they're 2.5.
Yeah, there is a disparity. I think that common wisdom lately says like between 18 and 30 months, which is a big, quite a gap.
And kids are different. Sometimes it's a bit more developmental they're advanced a little bit or whatever, and some
Yeah.
are a little bit slower, and that's okay. But I like that window. That window seems good, 18 months to 30. So yeah, that'd be between 18 months and 2.5 years.
I remember having an almost 3-year-old that was pretty much potty trained,
Yeah.
having another baby, and we took a few steps back for just a little while before getting him to that. So I know there are a lot of things that go on in their
Little heads.
delicate little heads that make it different for everybody. But you would never think that this would become a political thing. In the UK, when they met in January, when the House of Lords gathered in January for their first debate of the year, there was an issue that was high on the agenda, and it was potty training. And it's because of an alarming statistic. In the UK, 26% of 4-year-olds in England are not potty trained when they start school.
Ooh.
I mean, if you're sending kids to school that aren't potty trained, I remember that being a big deal in preschool, too. You couldn't go into certain classes unless you were potty trained because obviously that takes a lot of time away from teachers and things like that.
So how is it political?
Well,
I'll get it.
70 years ago, an estimated 83% of children in the UK were potty trained by the time they were 18 months. So is this about the kids? Is it about the parents? Is it gentle parenting? Is it people who are really trying to get the kids to lead the way in the areas where maybe they don't really need to be leading the way? The reason this is a political thing is because it's not even so much, being told how to raise your children. The number of disposable diapers in landfills is what's partially behind this. The longer a kid stays in diapers, the more they're adding to the diapers in the landfill. Yeah.
Yeah, that's who would have thought I'd be on the same side with the eco folks, but
That
for
is
different
quite a
reasons.
shock. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and I don't know if this is the reasoning that some people give, but that whole thing of, they'll let you know when they're ready to, go to the bathroom the way you're supposed to. They'll let you know. Yeah, I wouldn't say force it on a kid that is, a year old, but at some point, you've gone too far. But if all those people are so eco crazy in the UK, we use cloth diapers. You can use cloth diapers. Nobody's keeping you from, well, I know you're busy with your career and all that, but nobody's keeping you from using cloth diapers. If you really love the world, maybe you should let your kid, go a little more than 18 months if they need to. And maybe you could be the adult and you could take that responsibility. In other words, think of it this way. They love the earth so much and are so nervous about the destruction of our planet that they're not going to do something uncomfortable, the adults.
Yeah.
They're going to make sure they impose it on the child. The child has to do something uncomfortable to make up for the fact that the adult won't. The child doesn't love the earth like the adult loves the earth. The child is not capable of making decisions. Why wouldn't the adult, the person who loves the earth so much, if that's what motivates them? Okay, well then maybe changing diapers will take an extra 12 minutes, and maybe you'll have to do some laundry in a way that you can't just the disposable nappies. That's what they call diapers,
They
right?
do. They do.
Disposable nappies don't give you.
Let me ask you a question.
Maybe if you love the earth that much, why don't you do something about it?
The answer might be yes. I don't know. How many of the cloth diapers were you responsible for washing? If memory serves, I did that too for a minute, not for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think there's probably no such thing as diaper service anymore. I think somebody had given us a diaper service for a short period of time after my first son was born. But after that, it was really hard to keep. It's not. There's soaking and things like that. It's more time consuming than just throwing in a load of clothes.
No,
to
I
wash.
understand. And let me say, to answer your question, not very much of the washing, of the changing, a good portion.
Yeah.
Or as I recall, probably not everyone would agree with that, but I would say probably. But yeah, not the washing. But my point is, I don't have a problem with the disposable nappies. I don't say we're killing the planet with our disposable nappies. If that's what the Brits think, if they're so interested in saving the planet, why don't the adults do a little extra work and not impose it on little Junior, little Lord Fauntleroy?
Yeah. There are other things too. They say it could improve pediatric health, save money. That's good for parents too.
I stand by the 18 months to, that sounds right. 18 months to 2.5 years. I think that's right in there.
Did you read, was Dr. Spock's book one of your go-tos?
Read
Baby and Child Care.
Do what?
That's what it's called, Baby and Child Care.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't recall. Maybe I read some.
He was the one who championed the child-led approach. And this was 1946. He is the one who said that most kids will be ready for it sometime between...
You said 18 and 30 months?
He said the child will mostly train himself, typically in the latter half of the second year. That was not my experience. There was not a lot of self-training going on.
Yeah, and there's all, not to get into it, but there's also an emotional aspect of that whole thing. You know, kids and attention and knowing they have control over certain things, and not controlling what they can control is sometimes controlling a parent. But in terms of the ability of a kid to be able to do it, I would say somewhere in there. Somewhere in 18 months to 2.5 years.
Kind of wild that there's so much more to it.
That is the Wilder Show podcast. I hope by now you have liked, followed, thumbs up, all kind of stuff. And somebody said the comments, this is so weird, the comments to count for the algorithm need to be more than 6 words. Isn't that weird?
Really?
Yeah. Like it doesn't really, if you scroll through something and you're barely there for 2 seconds, it doesn't count it as a view. Same way with a comment. So you could do the same word 6 times if you want to. I'm not sure they count on what the words are. Anyway, like, rate, follow, subscribe, share. If you haven't done it yet, do it now, please. Instagram, find us Wilder Show Pod, and same thing, like, rate, follow, subscribe, share. If you want to send us email, here, it's podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central or before on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, on the TikTok now and again. Feliz Cinco de Mayo. Buena coincidencia. Adios, Lauren.
Adios.
And gracias.
De nada.
Da 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 da.